All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar titled Stay on Track, Tools to Align Teams and Project Schedules. Keep teams aligned, schedules tight, and updates visible in real time with Autodesk Construction Cloud. But first, a quick introduction about myself. My name is Mark Petrucci. I'm the ACC Technical Manager for Graitec, and I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I started out my career as a civil engineer and spent time both in the field and in design firms before diving deep into construction technology. I've been working with BIM 360 and ACC since it first came out way back in 2012. And also I've used PlanGrid since 2017. So I've seen a lot of these tools evolve and I know how to make them work for real teams. I've been with Graitec for 17 years now. Time flies. And I enjoy helping folks roll out the software, training users, providing consulting services, as well as really streamlining workflows. I'm also an Autodesk certified instructor, and I was honored to be named Technical Collaborator of the Year. And yeah, I've even got a couple of patents in the BIM VDC innovation area, which just really means I like solving problems and making things run smoother. So here's what we have lined up for today. It seems like a short agenda, but I'm going to spend the majority of my time in a live demo. I've gone through a quick welcome and introduction. Then I'll talk about why this topic actually matters, not just in theory, but in day-to-day of running jobs. And a lot of this should be obvious why project schedules are important. And after that, I'll walk you through what we're going to learn and the key takeaways that you can apply right away. And then, like I said, I'll end this with a live demo and we'll jump right into the software. I'm going to start a brand new project and I'm going to take you from scratch, from importing a schedule to utilizing some of the tools that we have available within the schedule. All right, so let's break down why schedules actually matter on job sites. First of all, they set expectation. Everyone knows what's happening and when. Okay. Second, they help us coordinate trades, so we're not tripping over each other or waiting around. Third, they show us the critical path, the stuff that really drives the finish date. Fourth, they let us track progress, which is huge for billings and inspections and keeping things accountable. And finally, they help us make smart calls when things shift, whether there are delays due to weather, scope changes. Bottom line, a good schedule keeps the whole team aligned and out of trouble. So I think we all know how important project schedules are. So let's now discuss, where do we get schedules and what we can do with them. So first, we're all familiar with project scheduling tools like Microsoft Project and Primavera. Okay? And there's others out there. But now let's talk about not just using those tools, but also Autodesk Build. With Autodesk Build schedules, it helps us give the whole team access to team members who may or may not have access to Microsoft Project and Primavera. With Build, teams can access the schedule. They are always up to date. And they're not chasing down PDFs or wondering if the version of the schedule they have now is the most recent one. And this tool is actually built for the field. It's easy to filter, it's easy to follow. Plus, we can actually collaborate with it. People can comment, they can flag issues, they could link tasks to RFIs or delays. It's not just a scheduled tool, it's a live coordination tool that keeps everyone aligned. And a few key points here. It offers team-wide visibility. Everyone, like I said, the field crews, the project managers, the supers, they can all access and view the schedule without needing Microsoft Project. They can actually do that with their mobile device as well as desktop. Always up to date. No more emailing PDFs or wondering if what you're looking for is the latest version. Everything in the cloud is live. It does offer field-friendly filters. Crews can quickly filter by trade, by date, or activity. There's no more scrolling through dense Gantt charts or flipping pages of Gantt charts. I mentioned earlier, my personal experience with this is early in my career when I was a PE and I would walk the job site with a Gantt chart. I would be flipping through pages and creating markups on the Gantt chart before this technology was available. We have the advantage of built-in collaboration. Stakeholders now can comment directly on tasks. They can flag issues and they can suggest changes. There's no extra emails or meetings. For those that have not used Build in the past, there are so many features where the email notification is automatic. You do some work that you assign to a particular team member, they are automatically notified. There's no need for you to remember to get back to the office and send them an email. Everything is automated within the system. And finally, it's connected to real-time project data. We could link scheduled tasks within a build project. We can link them to RFIs, to issues, to progress tracking. I can actually link them to just about everything else inside of build. So delays are visible and traceable. So what are we going to learn today? Well, today we're going to learn how to import and share schedules that we get from maybe Microsoft Project or Primavera, and we're going to share that with the entire team. We'll look at ways to filter and view activities by trade, by date, by status. We're going to look to optimize this for field teams as well as mobile access. We're going to go ahead and collaborate directly on the schedule task using comments, issue links, and real-time updates. Then we'll look at how to connect schedule activities to RFIs, issues, progress tracking for better coordination and accountability. And finally, we'll finish up with some best practices for keeping schedules current without having to chase PDFs or emailing updates. All right. So let's jump into a project. Now, this is a live project, and I've not done any work in this project. In fact, if I come down here inside of Autodesk Build and I come down to schedule, you notice that I don't have any schedules loaded. If I go up to, let's say, the files section, notice under files, you have project files. There are no folders. This is a completely blank project. The only work that I've done in here is I've invited some members. I've invited different teams that I typically bring in, such as Andrew Architect and George General, Mary Mechanical, Pam, my project manager, and so on. But I don't have any other work done in here. So I'm going to jump over to schedule and show you how to import a schedule. So we're going to import a schedule. I've actually have a Microsoft project schedule that I've configured to start on October 1st. So it's only been less than a few days here. I'll select the open button. And you'll notice when I hit upload schedule, it's just a matter of selecting the file. And meanwhile, it is now uploading the schedule into my Autodesk Build project. In case you're wondering, where does that schedule go? It actually gets saved here in the file section. And a folder is created automatically called Schedule Tool Files. And you'll notice there is a folder with my schedule name. And if I select on it, there's the actual schedule I just uploaded to the schedule tool. So there is actually a file kind of in the background, which many people may not realize it's here, but I'll come down here to schedule and we'll take a look at what the schedule looks like here on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and hit the refresh button. And I'm going to jump right back into the project. Okay, so here is my project schedule. Notice I don't need Microsoft Project for this. All right, I'm just in the schedule tool. From here, you can see the activity on the left-hand side. You can see the activity name. You can see the start date and the finish date. You can see the % complete. And since this project Start at the beginning of the month, you can see right there. On the right-hand side, you can actually see the Gantt chart. Right now, this is looking at a month view. I'm going to switch this to maybe a week view. You can see a little bit more. You can actually see the title for each task. If I wanted to, I could also switch to the day. And from here, you'll notice that there is a day timeline on here. I'm going to switch this back over to a week. We have the ability, we can also adjust the zoom level from here as well. And we can actually fill up the entire screen with this button. If you only want to look at the tasks, you can switch this to a list view. If you only want to look at the Gantt chart, you can do that. But we're going to stick with both of these. But let's look at some of the advantages you have here with the schedule. Like I said, this is live, and I can adjust my screen many different ways. Let's say that I want to look at activity related to fencing. I know that we're going to get the fence installed, but maybe there's going to be some challenges relating to, let's say, the weather. So if I simply type in FENC, notice I didn't even hit the enter key. It immediately went and found a task for me right here called Prepare Site, Lay Down Yard and Temporary Fencing. And right now that's scheduled for October 13th. And let's just assume that, today is October 12th and it's been raining hard. We checked the weather report and it's going to continue to rain. Well, I need to make some updates to this schedule. And what I'm going to do here is I could actually, if I click on this, it'll open up information about that schedule. There's my start date, there's my finish date. But you notice there's not much I can do in here right now. And I'll come back to this in a minute. But right up here where it says viewing, I can switch this to suggesting mode. And I know it's going to be raining pretty hard on the 13th, so instead of having the fencing going up on the 13th, maybe I'll change that to the 15th. And notice this popped up and it says, hey, do you want to continue suggesting or do you want to submit this suggestion? I'm going to continue suggesting. Because you'll notice I changed the start date to the 15th, I'm going to go ahead and make some adjustments to the finish date and change that to the 17th. And as I continue to kind of scroll through, I'm not going to change the percent complete. I'm not going to make any changes to the duration. But you'll notice at the very end here are some buttons. This one says mark as delayed. This one says mark as cost impact. And then this one it says add details. And from here, I could also hit the delay button, which is the same thing as if I came down here. But I'll say, yep, there's going to be a delay. And if I'm going to track the reason for this, and I'll put in here weather, I'll search for the root cause called weather. And maybe I put in some notes in here. Rain is preventing teams from I'll say installing fencing. And I'll hit the add button. So right there, I was able to quickly make some suggested updates. Now, something I want you to notice my dates here are October 15th, and you can see the original date, the 13th, is crossed out. Notice the 17th, the original date up there was the 14th, and that is crossed out. Well, I am in suggestion mode, and notice right up here, you see this blue button. If I select on it, this will actually show me everything that I am suggesting as far as updates. And I've got 5 updates related to this one activity. I'm saying, yep, we're changing the start date, we're changing the finish date, or I'm suggesting we are. I'm also marking that it's delayed. I've updated the root cause, and I also added some notes. From here, I can then decide whether I want to submit this to my manager. Now, by the way, we can control who's allowed to do this action. All right, so maybe for other team members, I only give them the ability to view the schedule. But for some team members, I might give them the ability to suggest some changes. So in this example right now, I'm going to say, let's submit this to the manager. and I realize, oh, by the way, I forgot to attach some photos related to this. So if I select back on this actual activity, you'll notice over here it says references. I could add some references here. And I took pictures at the job site, so I'm going to switch over to photos. And I'm going to go ahead and hit upload new. And I'm going to grab a couple photos that I have uploaded here. And I'll say open. So now I've actually got documentation to show that there's quite a bit of rain at the job site. And I just can't have the fencing put in until, it starts to dry up a little bit. But here's an example using the reference tool where I'm able to link this schedule task to other areas of build. If this fencing was going to have a cost impact, maybe I would come in here and I would create a potential change order. Or if I wanted to email somebody, I can create some correspondence and email somebody from directly within the system. Or maybe I want to create an issue. The point is, once you start using Autodesk Build and all of the features we see here on the left-hand side, I can reference any of the data that I have in those areas of build to this particular task. And in this case, my photos. Let's use an example maybe with our RFIs. So I'm going to switch over and I'm going to search. I'm going to clear this and notice my entire screen. Go back to viewing. Here's my entire screen again. And this time I'm going to search for maybe concrete around the elevator pit. So I type in CONC, and right here it says prepare and pour concrete floor in elevator pit. But as it just so happens, I need some clarification related to the concrete for the elevator pit. So what do? I'll go to add references, and I'll reference an RFI. Notice I don't have any RFI, so I'll create a brand new one. And from here, now because I'm a manager, I can send this directly off to the architect and engineers, but I'm going to assume that most of the people in the field are not managers. So instead, I'm going to send this off to a manager. And who's the manager? Well, that's going to be sent over to Pam. And what is the RFI that I'm going to send to Pam? Well, I need clarification. So let me just kind of put this in the title. I need clarification for the elevator pit. And I think I may have copied too much of that. So let me just fix that real quick here. And I'll do that one more time. Just save me the time of typing all that in. So I'll put that in here, clarification for elevator pit. Due date, I'll need an answer for this maybe by Friday. And then I'll go ahead and I'll just put in my question. And let me go ahead and copy and paste my questions in here. Obviously, you would have to type this in, but to save a little time on this webinar, I've gone ahead and prepared these questions to paste them in here. And now I could hit create RFI. And you'll notice now for this particular item number 29, this activity, I do have an RFI associated with it. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to close up this review suggestions for now. And we'll come back over here and clear this. So that quickly, that easily, I was able to find activity by simply typing on it right here. You'll notice that there is a quick look. So if I want to look at the schedule, everything that's happening this week and everything that's maybe happening 1 week out, I can filter my schedule. Makes it really easy to look at my schedule maybe 2 or 3 weeks out if I decide to do that. You'll notice that there's a filter button. The filter button may be what I want to do. And actually, I just realized, let me clear my filter right now. I'm going to clear my look ahead. Boom. The filter right now, if I come in here, I could also see, okay, show me specific milestones. Show me some critical dates. Show me those that have open suggestions. Here's one that's really handy, labor resources. Show me all the work that's going to be done by a particular crew. maybe my electrical contractor, maybe my plumbing contractor. Really helpful to be able to kind of filter your schedule this way based on the labor resources. Again, where does this come from? This doesn't come from build. This actually comes from the schedule. So whoever's creating the schedules, the more information they put in there, the more that I can do with these schedules to make it easy for me to find what I need. Okay. Well, I have made some suggestions to this schedule. In fact, when I come back out here, you'll notice because I'm a project manager, this will appear up in the corner, this yellow symbol to let me know that there are suggestions waiting for review. And when I select on this, it takes me in here and it says, yep, looks like the laydown for the site, we're going to change that from the 13th to the 14th. Okay, fine. I'm going to review that. If I accept it, I'm going to go ahead and note that as being allowed. I'm going to save the response. And then what I can do is I can come back over to my activities and look to see if there's any more changes in here, maybe that I need to make. But for now, I'm going to assume those are the only activities, and I'm going to generate a report and send that off to my scheduling person. And so now I'm going to show you how to update the schedule. And that's just a matter of coming in here, selecting Update Schedule. And now I'm going to go to my version 2 schedule, and I'll select on this schedule. It's an updated version. This is version V2. Notice when I bring this in, it's automatically going to give this a new version name. And by default, it's just simply giving it the date and time in which I'm doing this. And if I want to notify specific teams, maybe I'm going to notify everybody at Graitec, or maybe I'm going to notify all of my project managers right here, project managers. I could do that. I also have the ability that I can place in some notes, and I can also attach some files. For now, I'm going to just uncheck this and I'll say update the schedule. And what this is doing now is this is bringing in a new schedule. And one of the things that I want to do is look for changes in the schedule. I already know there should be at least one change. Remember I said that the fencing, we wanted to postpone the installation of the fencing because of rain, but maybe there were other changes that happened in the schedule that I'm not aware of, but I would like to see. That's where the version control comes in. And this is huge. When I select version history, I can now compare version 2 with version 1. You can see the date and time which they've been uploaded. I'm going to hit the compare button. And I'm going to compare version 2 with version 1. And oh, by the way, you can compare versions. This will keep track of all the versions. So if I get up to version 10, I can compare all 10 versions, or maybe I compare version 10 and version 8, whatever I choose, but it's that easy. But what I want you to notice is notice the colors here. The blue is version 2, the purple is version 1, and you can see that right down here. Now the question is like, oh, I do see there is a change right here. This has changed. But is there anything else that may have changed in here? You'll notice it's created these filters up here for you. This is automatic. When you do a version compare, instead of saying show me all the changes, I'm going to say only show me changes where there's a delayed start. When I do that, notice it takes me right to my fencing. And it shows the original date of the 13th, and it shows the new start date is the 15th. Notice the little arrow. Autodesk includes these arrows where it's going to be an up arrow or down arrow to indicate if something is being delayed or if it's happening sooner. In this case, the red arrow going up points out that this is a delayed start and a delayed finish. Notice right up here, maybe I get rid of the delayed start and I want to look for anything that has an advanced start. And when I select this, I could see that it looks like the toilet rooms are going to start 1 day sooner than the original date. So right there's my advanced start. If I want to look at maybe my critical path, I can see those items that are related to critical path. Look at this one here, name change. One of these activities, the name changed. When I select on it, I could see right here in the previous version, version 1, which is purple, it was titled Perform Architect's Inspection. In this case now, it's named Perform AOR Inspection. Very minor, but something that could easily be overlooked. But by using the scheduling tool, anybody is able to quickly do this. And if you notice some really biggies down here at the end, new and removed. If anybody added new activity to the schedule, you can view them. Or if any activities have been removed from the previous version, that'll also show it to you here. So some really powerful tools to help you know when schedules are changing. And I'll go ahead and remove that. All right. The last thing that I want to point out here, looking at the schedule, and obviously, guys, I'm giving you a quick overview of this. I've not shown you all the little details or even actually how to set up the permissions in here, but I at least want to show you if you want to generate a report. Now, before I generate a report, what I think I will do is I'll just make a few more changes in here. I'm going to say suggesting, and we'll change this. We'll just change this date from the 20th to the 27th. And I'll just change this percent complete to 100%, we'll say. And I'll go ahead and I'll submit this. And I'm going to say submit over new schedule. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. All right. We'll see if that will close up here in a second. And what I want to show you is the report function that you have with this. Now, by the way, everything I'm showing you here is nearly identical on the mobile device. The only thing that is different on the mobile device is that the mobile device does not show you the Gantt chart. All right, so it's unable to show you the Gantt chart. However, it will show you all the activity, and it makes it very easy for you to filter and look for a particular activity and decide on if you want to make any suggested changes to that activity. By the way, if I come up here to Files, come here to the folder, you'll notice that I've uploaded two different files, the same two different versions of the file. There was a slight difference in name change, but it's keeping track of those for me. Remember, I created a photo. If I come over to the photos section, notice some photos have been added. Maybe I go over to RFIs. Notice an RFI has been added. And if I select on this RFI, I could read on it. I could see the question right down here. From here, I could submit this for review. I could see the start date. In fact, I can see right over here when the RFI was created, who did it and when. But let's come down here to reports, because I do want to show you a report that you can create. If we go over to template, you'll notice that there is a schedule suggestion summary. If I select on this, and I'm not going to take the time to go through and filter everything in here, but I might have different project schedules, so I might do it by schedule name. I might have different statuses related to my tasks, whether it's in review, mitigated, or allowed. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to accept everything, and I'm going to generate an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to go ahead and just leave it sorted by status, and I'll just simply run report. Now, because this schedule is so small and I've only made a few suggestions in here, this Excel file is not going to be very long. However, if I came back over into schedules and maybe I had multiple schedules, multiple versions, and everybody was suggesting, and I realized I didn't submit this. This is still submitting, so I'm waiting for that to finish. We will see if this will impact my report or not. But in this example, if I have a lot of suggestions, when I generate my report, it's very helpful if within the report I set up some filters. So let's take a look at this and we'll see what this looks like. If this comes up blank, then I have another report I can show you. All right, so it did bring in a little bit of work here. So it shows here with the fencing. it shows that right over here that there is a change, which is right here. So it shows that the start date is originally October 13th, but the suggested date is the 15th. The original finish date is the 14th. Now it's scheduled the 17th. And then notice, as far as it is delayed, there is going to be no cost impact, but it's showing the root cause and a note related to the delay. So when there are a lot of suggested changes to the schedule, they will all be listed here, which then the project manager can provide this Excel report to whoever my scheduler is and say, hey, I need you to review these updates. And that would be the typical workflow. Okay. All right, let's take a quick peek at build schedules on the mobile device. And I mentioned to you that there's a lot we can do on the mobile. So here's a breakdown of some of the key features. We can view projects directly from the Autodesk Construction Cloud on our mobile device. We have some quick search functionality, like I can filter by name or by date. I could filter by status, time frame. Time frame filters help us focus on tasks starting maybe today or this week or next week. Very easy to use. I also have the ability, which I could link references like documents, similar to what I did earlier in this webinar. The intuitive home screen, it displays all the schedules that I have permission to view. You'll see when I log in, it's going to show one project schedule, but if I have multiple schedules within my project, I'll only see the ones in which I have permission to view. I also have the ability to tap on any of the tasks and look at the details. And finally, I can view this schedule offline. This would have been a great tool when I was working at a job site and I was carrying around a paper schedule with me and marking it up. It would have been great to have this on an iPad and being able to enter in all the information or the suggestions that I had recorded manually using ink on paper. It would have been great to have an iPad to do that. So let's take a look at this live on the iPad next. So on my screen, what you're looking at here is my iPad, all right? And I have my ACC mobile app at the very top. I'll go ahead and select on the black and white icon. I will be required to log in, but to save time, I've already logged into the screen. You'll notice that I have already downloaded the project onto my device, but you'll notice over here it does say that there are updates available. We did make a few changes, so I want to make sure I sync those changes to my mobile device, and I'll simply hit the blue sync button. And now I can access the project. Down in the lower right corner, I'm going to select more, and I will switch over to schedule. When I do that, you'll notice that you'll see one project schedule loaded, and there's the one that I had uploaded previously. When I select on it, it immediately takes me to a list of all the tasks or all the activities that I have in my schedule. I mentioned earlier how quickly it is to kind of filter this, and you'll notice I have some filters that are set up. If I select day, I now can see what I have scheduled for today. Or I can select on week and I can see what's scheduled for this week. Notice right below here it says this week. I could tap on this and I could look at next week's schedule. I could look at the following week, and I can continue to tap to look at previous weeks or go back in time to look at weeks in the past. And finally, I have the ability to go to the month view, and I can see all the activity that's scheduled for this month as well as next month and so on. If I came back here to search all my activities, I'm back to 112 activities. Remember, on the desktop, I typed in CONC for concrete. And when I did that, and I go back to all, we can see the same list or the same filtered list of activities. And for example, we took a look at my elevator pit, which is right here, and I'll tap on it. And from here, with my elevator pit, if I scroll down, you'll notice that there was an RFI that I generated earlier. And if I wanted to, I could take a look at that RFI right from here. So I'll tap on it, Immediately, it's going to open up the RFI. I have a chance to review the question, and I could review any other information that's associated with this RFI. You'll notice because I'm a manager, I do have the ability to submit it for review and I can close it. But for most everybody else involved in a project who are not managers, they will just have the ability to view the RFI. They won't be able to actually submit it for review. If I go back and I select on my fencing, I'll filter and I'll just simply type in FENC. And you'll notice, again, I don't have to hit the search button. Immediately it filters it, and I will select on my temporary fencing. If you remember on the desktop, I mentioned that it was raining on the job site. And so if I scroll down here, you'll notice that there were some photos that were taken. And from here, I can review those photos that I had recorded. All of this could have been done on the mobile device, just as easy it is on the desktop. Again, I can't see my Gantt chart. However, everything else associated with my project I'm able to view right here. And if necessary, I could suggest some updates. And from here, I could decide on what I need to update. Maybe this is I'll change this to % complete. I'll hit submit. And you'll notice right over here, it still says 0% complete. But notice now up here, it says suggesting mode. And if I hit suggestions, I could see that I have now changed the % complete to 48% complete, whereas previously I had changed the finish and the start date. So that quickly, that easy. Now, for those of you who may have noticed the dates, I am recording the mobile section here on a different day, but that quickly, that easy, I'm able to view all the information related to any of my tasks. Finally, one last thing to mention is right up here, you'll see the filter button. If I select on the filter button, I can filter this by milestone. I can filter it by critical tasks. I could filter it by labor resources. Show me all the work that's going to be performed by my electrical contractor or by my elevator contractor. I can also sort this in ascending or descending order. Regardless, I've made some changes here. And if I exit back out to my schedule and then go to more and projects, and you'll notice right down here it says refreshing the bottom of the screen. It now shows that there are updates available. It has registered I have made changes. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to sync my changes to the cloud. So that quickly, that easily, you are able to view project schedules on your mobile device. You're able to add photos, edit or suggest certain changes to tasks. I showed you the RFI. Pretty much everything that I was able to do on the desktop, I'm able to do on the mobile device. With that said, that is the end of today's presentation on using schedules within Autodesk Build. And by using the schedules, this is what's going to help us to stay on track and keep all of our teams aligned. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. We'll be happy to respond to you by chat. Unfortunately, I am out of town today, so I had to pre-record the meeting, but I look forward to hearing from each of you, and I wish you a lot of luck using Autodesk Build schedule tool to help manage your projects. Thank you.